didn't realize we were that sophisticated.
I'm like, hello.
Well, it's not obvious on the website how to do it, Lauren, in their link.
The
Amy
plain
helped me
paper
find
talked
it.
about the fact that there were
There's a
clean
QR code.
represented.
I don't, it's probably just me. I'm obviously not the most IT literate person in the world.
I'm sure
They
they
told me what to do. You gotta go to the QR code and then. Why did you say that? When I search for voting time.
Yeah, I've got stories for years with them.
Yeah, I told all my staff.
I still remember the first time I went to TML. I have some good stories about that. When Barry Catholic.
Oh, man.
I told him I buy all.
Oh, man.
No, we got the.
I used to babysit his children.
I haven't seen Barry in years.
And used to see Brenna at the paper office on 4th of July. It's still been years, but working there though. But I
But you
haven't-
used to teach for me at
Yeah.
high. Because I knew her when in high school. She was 2 years behind me. But
Okay.
Yeah, those boys-
And that's when we had, just got that bond issue done. For Texas Finance, there's a man named Monty Mitchell. He was before Gary Kimball,
Okay. Oh, okay.
and, he'd been doing that for years. He spent lavishly. It's like, I was a classroom teacher, I've never been. He went to this restaurant in San Antonio, and I know he did well more than one salary. For school teacher. Barry and those guys, it was like.
Sir, yeah. They're,
Well,
they,
Colonel Stewart, Jimmy Stewart.
well, not the.
No, well, there was a Jimmy Stewart here that was on city council. Well,
That must have been.
you're just not old enough.
Thank you. I thought that was on today. Thank you. for saying that.
I was trying to remember who else was on there. Of course, Holberg was there.
And remember him
Jimmy
from my
Jimmy
chamber
Stewart
days.
was, I guess, already in his 60s. He never met a lady that like to try to charm.
Uh-huh.
He went to our church. He was a friend of my dad way back then. And anyway, it was a wild group.
Markets.
Limousine
Before the election.
all this stuff. And I'm like, oh,
Wow.
I didn't even know this side of the
You
world.
can't hardly get away with that now.
Oh, he couldn't get away with what they did.
Remember the Clarence Grigg days in the chamber? Oh, my word. Did you know Stu Darcy?
Yes. I saw that, yeah.
Oh, it broke my heart.
Yeah. Oh, he was in that.
He was very-
Oh,
Wonderful in my early days, because I worked at the chamber for him. Right out of high school. He helped me go to A&M. I mean, he encouraged me, I mean, he just, and then when I got to A&M, I babysat for his daughter's kids through my whole college. They just put me in, took care of me, and the babysat, they spent some money for the important family.
Salado and Morgan's Point are still
where did he move to? Somewhere. Just
0-8. It breaks out 0 to 15, 16 to 45, and greater than 46.
That was sad. That was sad.
Yeah.
What's the annex?
Right now, the annex is 16 to 45. It's been that way most of the day. I've
All right.
never seen it get below that.
It is 5:30-ish. We're party rolling. Oh, got plenty of things to go do today. Plenty of time left. Welcome to summer number 3. We're going to start off with a pledge of allegiance to the U.S. flag by Council Member Wayne Carpenter, the Texas pledge by Public Works Director Scott Hottie, and then the invocation will be led by Council Member Stephanie O'Banion. Please rise.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag. Allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Pray with me.
Father, we just come to you this evening praising your holy name. Father, we thank you for the blessing of living in this community and for each person here. And I just ask for your guidance this evening in our discussions and deliberations, that we would just please you in all things. And Father, as we enter this season of elections and voting, Father, you would just continue to remind us that you're still our King. And I just thank you again for this beautiful day and weather. And ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. We'll now call this council meeting on Tuesday, October 22nd to order. It's 5:32. First item on the agenda is public comments. If anyone has anything that they would like to address the council, you may do so. I have one written. There's Chris, one of our board trustees from Belton's Independent School District. Chris.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Chris Floyd. I reside at 358 Green Park Drive, Belton, Texas. And while I wear many hats in the community, I'm here tonight as the Vice President of the Board of Trustees for Belton Independent School District. In case you missed it last night, we had a great celebration of the Belton Fire Department. And then previously, we've had a great celebration of the Belton Police Department. And really, I want to talk about the partnership between the city and the school district and just how amazingly supportive that is and how much we truly do appreciate the partnership between the independent school district and the city. As a parent, right, I moved here 12 years ago, and part of our decision to move here was around a grade so we could raise a family and feel safe and secure. And so our recognition of the fire department last night and previously of the police department really are sort of at the heart for me as a parent, but then also for the over 13,000 students that are at Belton ISD. I also want to say thank you for your continued partnership for the amazing amount of growth that we've had within the district. So think about Hubbard Branch Elementary, right? New little thing just down the road here, right? Hubbard Branch Elementary, the new additions at Belton High School, the renovations at Southwest Elementary, the Grant facility that's being built, and the new Ag Barn facility. We could not have done those things and sped those things along in the time that we need to do it without your support. And it's truly welcomed and appreciated from the school district standpoint. And then lastly, I want to thank you for your participation with us with our legislative priority listening sessions that we've had. We know that public schools are at the center of great communities, and great communities can exist, right? How to coexist, right? And so your participation in that process and really showing your support for great schools, again, means the world to me as a parent, also means the world to me as a trustee of the board. I know comments all about, lots of times you don't know what you're going to get. I just want to say thank you this time. So I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think everybody up here has spent some time in BISD as a student. I think most of us graduated from Belton. I think I may be the only one that didn't graduate. I went to Leon Heights though, so they had enough of me by then. So thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to address the council? I will say one thing, be in prayers for the Sanderford family. So Paul Sanderford passed away a little over a week ago. He was a former trustee, former council member, and he had been serving with us on the Economic Development Corporation as the lawyer there representing that. And he passed away from stage 4 esophageal cancer, left behind a wife, Kelly, and 3 adult children, which was this was the second bout of cancer. He had been a cancer survivor for 25 years, and the good Lord gave him 25 to 30 more years to raise a family and send the kids on. And so Ty, Emily, and Tanner. So anyway, just be in prayer of those. I just wanted to make that comment. So yeah. All right. Any other public comments? There being none, the next one is a presentation on the National Night Out block parties. Sergeant Cooley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Like I said, my name is Wayne Cooley. I'm one of the sergeants at Belton Police Department. And I've had the privilege of coordinating National Night Out for the last 4 years. And I'm here tonight to announce the award winners for this year's National Night Out. Before I do, though, I'd like to share just how great this year's event was. This year we had 13 parties that were hosted throughout the city. Every single one of those parties was attended by multiple members of Belton Police Department, our police explorers, and the fire department. Also, we had CHIPS volunteers attend 11 of those parties. This year, the overall atmosphere for the parties was much more neighborly and organic, and it created an excellent environment for attendees to interact with and engage with each other, ultimately fulfilling the purpose of the night out. Overall, the turnout, quality, and effectiveness of National Night Out was among the best that I've ever seen since I've been here. With that being said, each year we recognize 3 parties. One for the best overall party, where we consider the totality of the party, things like their food, activities, turnout, atmosphere, and other things. We also award the party with the best community party, where we consider specifically the size of the turnout in relation to the neighborhood and like how many from that neighborhood attend. And then last, we usually award the best new party for the year or of the year, where we look at the totality of the party, but we only consider the new host. We're announcing the winners tonight, and we'll present them with their awards at a time and place more convenient for them. So without further ado, this year's award winners for National Night Out 2024. Cami Owens of Leon Heights, she earned the Rookie of the Year. Cami hosted the Leon Heights area party at the north entrance to Heritage Park. Her party had an excellent atmosphere with lots of shade trees and things. She had picnics and live music out there. And then Joanne Gillette of Legend Oaks, her party has earned the Community Camaraderie Award. Joanne hosted the Legend Oaks area party in her neighborhood at the cul-de-sac. Her drew nearly all of the residents from her neighborhood and was noted by several attendees as having a phenomenal neighborhood atmosphere. And then the best neighborhood block party for this year goes to Crystal Bertrand of Belton Housing Authority. Crystal, the BA staff, their partners, Jan and Jeff Sutton at the Hope House. They hosted their party at Mitchell Circle Park. Their party attracted a wonderful crowd that featured face painting, lots of different food options, games, crafts, a live DJ, and a lot of door prizes. This year, these hosts did a phenomenal job. I can't wait to see what they do for us next year. And I'd like to just kind of end this by just thanking everybody in the community of Belton for participating and showing out for this party.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
A lot of fun.
If you haven't had a chance to get out to those are really fun. It's just nice to see the community come together and to support. And it's so many times there's a tension between the police and the community. It's one of those that kind of bridges that gap to give a face to a name. So kind of alleviate some of that. And we really don't have that much of a problem in Belton. All right. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda. Items 4, 10 can be enacted by one motion. I'm going to read them. I'm also going to request pulling item number 10 to postpone for a future meeting, but I'll read that here in a second. So item 4 is approving the September 24th City Council meeting. Item 5 is authorizing the purchase of networking equipment from GT Technologies through TIPS. Contract 230105 to replace the City of Belton's aging network switches and access points at a cost of $94,054.68. Item 6 is authorizing the purchase of fleet vehicles up to 20% over the budgeted amount. I'm going to those Public Works 4 vehicles, Police Department 3 vehicles, Planning Department 2 vehicles. Item 7 is authorizing the purchase of a streeper from ASCO through the Buy Board Purchasing Cooperative in the amount of $355,874. Item 8 is authorizing the city manager to execute an interim agreement with Hill Country Transit District for the operation of public transit system. Item 9 is adopting an ordinance annexing 2.305 acres of right-of-way Old Golf Course Road. And item 10, I'm going to recommend that we pull the facade easement grant application for exterior renovations to the structure at 206 East Central Avenue, located in the downtown Belton Commercial Historic District between South Penelope Street and Northeast Street. Does anyone else wish to pull any of it?
I would like to pull item number 8.
Maybe. Right. The others?
I move we approve items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9 as presented.
So
Motion and a second to approve items 4 through 7 and 9 as approved. Those been any events? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Item 8 is the interlocal agreement with Hill Country Transit. Mr. Lissy.
Council members. This item would finalize the agreement that we had discussed earlier in the year with MAHOP providing the microtransit service in the community. In Belton, there'll be 3 peak hour vehicles, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., 2 to 6 p.m., and then 2 off-peak periods as well from later morning hours, 10 to 2 and 6 to 8. And then there also is the connector service between Cove and Temple. We're excited to bring this back before you. We had set aside in the budget $55,000 for this commitment. The actual amount is $55,373 basically. And so we would like to recommend the council's participation in this really significant change in service that we believe would be a great addition to the community.
Thank you. And the reason I pull is I'm so excited about this, and I didn't want it to go unnoticed that this micro service in our community is transformative. It will transform those of our citizens being able to basically use a Uber-like service for the same amount of fees to get to and from where they're going. There's data in here about the number of rides that have already been used, far surpasses any kind of ridership we saw on the buses. So it just allows our citizens to get to and from very important appointments, to work, very efficient fashion, time saving, and very, very affordable. And I just want to thank Sam and our city leaders and for doing this opportunity. And I'll make a motion to approve item number 8 as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement with HOP. Any other comments? Again, it's a great, I'm glad we're able to make some efficiency so we can maintain. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thanks.
That passes unanimously. And I would recommend on item 10 that we make a motion to postpone that to a future meeting, not set yet. Indefinitely, yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second has been made to postpone item 10 to a future meeting, not set. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving right along, item 11 is in planning and zoning. We're going to hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from planned development retail to amended planned development retail on approximately 0.7 acres located on North Main Street, east of Main Street and south of Lake Road. Tina.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone else. For this zoning, the purpose of it is to allow the owners to construct an encore electrical substation that will provide for our residents. The proposed amendment would allow for the use of that electrical substation. The location of this property is on the east side of Main Street and just south of Lake Road, right in that HEB shopping center. The current use is retail with a PD, and the surrounding uses are similar, PD for the CVS pharmacy, and Walgreens across the street, and PD for the HEB shopping center. A little lower is a commercial one, and across the street is where the current substation is, and that also has an SUP. The conceptual site plan proposes the 50,000 substation, square foot substation. There's an internal circulation road that grants access to it. There are 2 tall gates that are proposed to allow for maintenance access into the area. There's also an 8-foot tall split face masonry wall proposed for screening of the area with a 5-foot wide landscaping buffer around that area. That was 50 trees and 258 shrubs. The trees will not be along the North Main Street parameter or the back area, but only because of the overhead of equipment, and that will interfere with their operation. So for that landscaping area, that's going to be the screening wall and also some shrubs in that area. Here is the proposed site plan. On the east side, the west side is North Main. East side is Lake. Here's the internal circulation road that allows access into the area for maintenance. This is hard to see, but this is the landscape plans. The darker areas is where the shrubs and the trees are going to go around where that fencing is proposed. Here's an example of the fence that they have done in another substation, but they're proposing the split face fencing along this area. The future land use map has this as a lifestyle center area. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting. Actually, they heard it twice. There was a amendment to the landscaping to allow for the overhead areas to not have screening. So they needed approval on August 20th and again on October 15th for the approval of the zoning change. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. And the applicant is here should you have any questions for them as well.
All right, this being a public hearing, we'll start with public comments first. So we'll close our deliberation and open the floor for public comments if anyone has anything to say for or against the proposed zoning change. There being no one from the public wanting to comment, we will close the floor, reopen our deliberations, and we consider this item. You don't have any questions, comments, or motions?
Can't build anything else there anyway, so it's kind of my, I mean, can't stop it. Kind of my thought. The screening is nice, so appreciative for my.
Do you mind putting up the picture so we can see what screening was? That went pretty quick for me, and I couldn't tell which
Okay.
areas were omitted and which areas were.
Okay, so the screening, again, the fencing is gonna go around the entire property except for the access areas. So shrubs are where the darker area is. There's trees and the Lake Road perimeter and also shrubs on the east side of the property. Trees and shrubs are also gonna be on this internal collector area. So the trees are missing on the west side and on the east side of the property, and only because of the electrical overheads.
I'll say my biggest concern is the reason we want to put in greenery is to have it blend in. The Lake Road that's facing, it's really not Lake Road, it's the entrance to HEB. So you're gonna have 3 cars there, you're gonna have 25,000 cars on the side that doesn't have shrubs. So we're now gonna have a lot of dead boxwood on either side of that, because most of the things that we require our businesses to put in, they don't irrigate and they die. I'm just being real.
I was gonna say irrigation is required with our
Okay.
landscaping plan.
But using the irrigation is not required. And so when you look at Sonic and I mean, just go through every business, every single one of them, all of their shrubs are dead. So because what we're doing is we're screening like on this side. I don't know. It seems like a huge number of shrubs to face an area that's not the primary area you would want to be screened. Right. Which is probably Main Street. That's just this one person.
So I apologize. Are you requesting maybe more shrubs on Main Street in lieu of the sides? But again, it would not impede with their.
Yeah, I think,
processes?
There's gonna be, there's some things that grow 2 feet, things that go 6 feet, and some things that grow 20 feet. Obviously, they're gonna have wires, so you can't have something that grows 20, but you can have something that grows 5, because the wall's 8, right? I'm assuming the wall's 8.
Correct.
So I don't know why we would exempt one wall from shrubs.
No, it's not exempt. They're required to have shrubs, but you
Okay, I
could
just
put,
don't see anything on that side because I see a dotted line that goes up to that fence and it
I know.
doesn't look like.
sorry, it is the dotted is the screening requirements for that. So there are shrubs in that area, but you might want to put in a limitation on the, or a recommendation on the height of that area, but there are shrubs proposed on North Main. Although,
And repeat the shrubs on each, what's gonna happen on each side of the property. So if you would just read.
Because you said that it was going to be on the
Main
Lake Road side and on the south, north and south side, but not on the east and the west side.
trees are gonna be on the Lake Road side and on the
Hey, Tina,
south side.
Real quick, Mayor, Council. Shrubs and trees were originally planned to go all the way around. The Encore came back and said, hey, we've got east to west power lines.
Yeah.
We don't want trees. So they took out the landscaping on east and west. We asked them to put back shrubs on east and west.
Okay,
That's what's being proposed today.
okay. Gotcha.
Apologize if I misspoke.
Yeah, no, I was going with that it was amended. All right, gotcha. And are abandoned the other side? Is it? are we gonna have two substations or are we gonna have one? Yeah.
Yes, please. And please, your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name's Seth, Siting Specialist for Encore. Address is 777 Main, Fort Worth, Texas. So the plan is, well, the reason, first of all, for the sub is to resolve a 25-26 winter loading concern that we have with an existing station. This will help backstand that and resolve for future growth in the area. The plan is once that this is built, that the old sub will get decommissioned. Part of the equipment that you see in this will pick up for the load that current sub has today. So it will be decommissioned. When that take place, the planning story isn't out for that yet. But my assumption would be a year or two after this is built. So we're probably looking at 2 to 3 years until that goes away.
Okay. Okay.
And I'll stick around for any other questions.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Those were my questions. Any other?
I move we approve item Z 2418 unless anybody had anything else to say.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve 11 as presented. Any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 12, hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from cultural to planned development commercial 2 on approximately 1.4 acres located at 1901 and 1903 South Connell Street. There's more.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the existing Belton Granite and Towel location that's off of Connell Street. This area was annexed back in 1998 and it has been operating as an under an ag zoning. The owner recently submitted a building permit to add an addition onto this area. This required the zoning change to allow for that addition. With that, here is the adjacent zonings. It's adjacent to a commercial 2 on the north side. South side is all planned development multifamily. There is an apartment of duplex homes. Across the street is also a planned development multifamily for future townhomes that are planned. Here's a current look. As you can see, their operation has been there for quite a few years and they're wanting to grow that location at the moment. So here's a picture of the front of the operation, and you can see the existing red building. So the new building that they're proposed is another building that is the same color and the same material for that site. So recently, 2 building permits were submitted in. One was for the fashion and the second was for the actual building to add a new over 3,000 square foot building. The footprint at 72 feet by 43 foot wide. Foundation plans were approved that allow for 8-foot side yard setback. Required setback actually 15 feet. So with that is requesting a 7-foot side yard reduction for this PD. I actually talked to the applicant. Encore has some overhead electricals over there, so they've requested additional. So the actual building will probably be 11 feet from the property line. The 8 would allow for additional, they needed that. The proposed building will facilitate the expansion of the existing business that is currently there. Here's a site plan that shows the green building is where the building is going to go. That property is building is 22 feet away from the front property line. That gives them enough visibility for Stray Road, which is on south side, to be able to see visibility for oncoming street traffic. Here is a look at the proposed building. As you can see, it matches what's currently there. Featuring land use map shows this as a commercial corridor. Sorry. Looking at the notice, we sent out notices out to the adjacent property owners. We received no letters of opposition or support for that. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting on October 15th. They recommended approval of the zoning request. They recommended approval to the commercial 2 zoning district and also the side yard setback reduction of 8 feet is permitted. A final subdivision plat will be required if there are future additions to the site. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. The applicant is here, should you have any questions for them as well.
All right, thank you, Tina. We'll close deliberation, open the public hearing. If anyone has any comments for or against this item. There being no comments on item 12, we'll close the floor and we'll reopen the deliberation, consider a motion or discussion.
Tina, did I understand that we need to change the side yard setback to 11 feet?
Well, the applicant thought that they could possibly be 11 feet from the side property line instead of 8. If you, my thing was just giving them enough allowance. 8 seemed like a reasonable number to just allow that. If it happens to be 11, then it is at a good position.
What was the concern with Encore that relates to that?
They have some overhead electrical things that they asked the applicant to be 15 feet away from, I believe,
Well,
12 feet away from.
that's on the side.
That's on the side, correct, correct. So you could make that amendment.
For Shrey and Bandera, is that the detention pond for that neighborhood?
The detention pond is actually behind the property. There's a park area and the detention pond in the back of the property. There's also a big one, I'm sorry, you're right, on the
right.
other side.
I don't have any concerns about setback just because of it's a street and a detention pond. Maybe. Whatever's cleanest for city staff and moving forward is fine with me.
So if I remember correctly, electrical lines were south of the actual property line.
No,
Emphasis on 11 or
no, it seems like that. It seems like 8.
yeah. Can encroach on anything. And Encore ultimately will have the final say
I'll
on.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Okay, I'm cool with it.
Water coming off the building, we're gonna harvest the rainwater because we recycle water. Everything's done with water and we're recycling the water, so. I have a 3,000 gallon pit outside that runs back inside, so we're not using any city water.
I'm fine making a motion to approve agenda item as presented with the 8-foot setback.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the zoning on item 12 as presented. Any other comments or questions? One comment I will make is as we look at potentially expanding commerce and changing the look and feel of commerce, we might want to make sure that our screening and other things are consistent with what we do in Lake Road. And I feel that there's a difference. And so I don't know that we are applying anything specifically in those areas, but I think because it's a possibility that commerce is going to get widened and have a little more potential retail. Connell. Did I say
Commerce.
Connell. Oh, so the street Connell.
Understand.
So anyway, that's my only comment is nothing on this one. It's just as we go forward is just to be consistent. Any other comments? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item lucky 13. We will hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from single family 2 to single family 2 with a SUP for an accessory dwelling unit with a kitchen on approximately 0.3 acres located on Wall Street on the southwest corner of North Wall and East 12th Avenue. Christina.
Thank you. For this application, the owner intends to construct a 576 square foot accessory dwelling unit with a kitchen. The kitchen part requires us to go through an SUP to allow for that use. This property is zoned single family 2 and the surrounding area is also family 2. It's currently developed with a single family detached home on it. In the back, there's a carport and a shed in that white area behind the home. They're proposing to tear down that shed and construct the ADU at that location. So all of the standards that we adopt for SUPs are being met is under the 800. Additional parking is already at the site that can accommodate for that. The area does not exceed our requirement as far as the area that's constructed. So with that, here's a floor plan for what's being proposed, a kitchen area, living room, bedroom and bathroom area. Here is a look at the existing home, and they're gonna use the same sidings along that and the same shingles on the home. With that, for SUP requirements, it's seen to be compatible with the surrounding uses. And we've allowed for other ADUs in this area. Kitchens are not that uncommon for single family dwelling and for accessory dwelling units. It seems full and it blends in with the neighborhood. There are no apparent negative impacts to the surrounding property owners. With that, we did send out notices to the surrounding property owners. We received 2 letters of support and 1 opposition for this proposal. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval for this at their meeting on October 15th. Staff concurs with their recommendation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and I don't see the applicant in the room.
All right, thank you, Tina. We'll close deliberations, open the floor for public comments on this ADU. If anyone wishes to speak in favor or against this item. There being no comments, we will close the floor and reopen our deliberations.
Tina, would you mind pulling up the overhead and show the additional parking?
Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the kind of say, I don't see 6 cars on the fitting in there like it should.
You know.
Yeah.
It has an alley access in the back of the house, so that's where they're accessing it from. There is a large carport at the back. Maybe 2 cars can fit into the carport, but there's extra parking spaces behind the cars.
So it's the alley in that picture is the parking?
No, the
No,
alley's
the-
here.
Okay.
In the white area, there's parking spaces and where the property is.
Okay. Do get a little, when I see 3 cars lined up behind each other. That usually isn't very realistic.
Okay.
Somebody needs to get out or somebody needs to leave and end up parking on the streets.
Straight.
Well, is that alley supposed to be accessed by the other property as well?
It is. It goes through from 12th all the way to Austin. So it goes up.
So if they were to park on the alley, then they would be blocking the alley for.
Yes, sir. But the other neighbor might also want to access from Austin.
Yeah. Is that a public alley or is it a private? Is it just, they just happen to just drive on each other's roads just for grins? Or is it like an actual like dotted line that this is a?
I apologize. This is an older area. I know some of the alleys were abandoned. So I'm not.
Sure not. But this picture, 6 cars lined in 3D.
I must have looked at it, but I apologize. I've slept since then. I don't believe it was, that portion has been abandoned.
But yeah, they couldn't park on the alley. That's not their property, right?
Correct.
According
That is
to
not.
the drawing, so that's not their property.
Kind of hard to see, but the alley is the house.
Street. And so could you go back to the, like the,
That's gonna be paved where the cars are?
Yes, sorry. Actually,
I think it's gravel.
I think there's an existing gravel, but we can request
So-
that to be paved with
so
the
show,
application.
so on this, show where those 6 cars would go. Is it where the grass is now? On,
No,
off of 12th?
this area.
Oh, it's there.
3 cars there?
In the carport, according to the applicant, they have enough room in the carport for, they're saying 4, but I'm thinking maybe 2.
What's that parking requirement?
It would be an additional 1 car for this. So a parking requirement is 2 covered and 2 uncovered. So 1 extra parking space would be
They
required for
need
the
parking
ADU.
for 5 cars.
Correct,
To meet requirements.
to meet the requirements.
That you want to add that the alleyway back there is public?
Okay, it's public, yeah, so they cannot obstruct that. Yep. My concern is that what they've shown, if they don't have any additional improvements to parking, I don't think that they're gonna meet requirements, because my guess is they're probably using part of that for storage and not for parking, like a lot. But not that, I mean, as long as you have it and they want to store stuff. And ultimately, we want higher density, and we don't want to penalize people for parking, just like downtown or anywhere else. So I think we will be pretty lenient on the parking. I don't know that this is,
Get a little frustrated when it's difficult to get up and down the street, and excess, cars on the, especially at a corner lot would be even more difficult. And all for higher density, but I think the parking issue should be taken care of, especially SF2 with an ADU and 5 lots required.
What's, what depth is considered a parking space?
18,
How many, please?
18,
18.
usually 9 by 18.
Looks like there's 38 feet. Looking on Belka, there's 38 feet between the carport property line.
So there is room under the carport if it's being used.
You can park 2 into the carport and 4 behind. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I think that this meets.
Yeah.
It does.
legal
Legal
requirements.
requirements.
Yep. All right, Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the item as presented.
Second.
Motion is second to the change of zoning from single family to single family 2 with an SUP for an accessory dwelling unit. Any other comments or questions? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, passes 6-1. Item 14, hold up hearing and consider a zoning change from commercial highway to planned development commercial highway with a SUP for a master sign. Commercial with SUP sign plan on approximately 12.6 acres located at 8101 South I-35 Service Road. Ms. Tina.
Thank you. That was a mouthful.
That was a mouthful, sorry.
Well done.
The applicant is constructing a travel center and a couple of fast food restaurants. For that, there is a slight difference in elevation between the main streets, main road of travel on 35 and the applicant's property, about 6 to 10 feet grade difference. The applicant is requesting permission to install a 40-foot tall sign and also an electronic message center. And in addition to that, they're also looking at additional wall signs for the multi-tenant building. Here is the location of the property. It is south of Elmer Keynes and it's north. It's by Diller's Road. It's across the street from where this is proposed at. It's just south of where the boat repair guy is. You call that one? Property is on commercial highway. Adjacent properties are commercial too. Across the road is commercial way as well. And behind this property is agricultural land. Here is the proposed high profile sign that they are installing. It's a 40-foot tall sign. The sign area is 214 square feet. So this area where it says fill your tank, that is the 49, almost 50 square foot digital reader sign. Here is a view from what it could possibly look like on the ramp. A second freestanding sign is proposed. This one meets the requirement. It's 20 foot tall and it's 225 square feet of signage. For this, our code allows a second sign if the property has more than 600 feet of frontage along the highway. This property has over 900 feet. There's also a requirement that there's at least 100-foot separation between the signs and it meets that permit. Here are the proposed wall signs. Staff, when we're reviewing, we might give exceptions for a logo. So the cowboy hat is one that we would normally give a exception to. Also the flags, that could be a freestanding flag, but they chose to put it on the building. So we're also allowing for allowance on that. So the total that's proposed is with everything that's included 182.9 square feet. Our allowance for sign is one per the facade. So this building, bless you. Oh, can't quite remember what it was. It was over 200 feet, so they were looking at more than what it would be normally allowed. But with the exceptions to allow for the national and state flag and the logo, that calculation would bring this down to 334.9 square foot, which is roughly 6 square footage of sign per the 1 linear foot that we allow for the facade. Future land use map has this area as a commercial corridor. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this and recommended approval of the proposed zoning change to allow for the 40-foot tall sign and also the electronic message center that meets our requirements in the sign lighting standards, and also allow for the wall signage of 134 square feet. Building permits are required for the proposed signs, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have, and the representatives here, should you have any questions for him as well.
Okay. This being a hearing, we will close our deliberations and open the floor again. If anyone wishes to speak in favor or against this item, come on up to the microphone. Being none coming to the microphone, we will close the floor and reconvene for deliberations on this plan. Any comments or questions?
So what's allowable with sign and they're 9 feet below grade?
Well, we do have allowance for elevation changes, so that would be calculated into it. So overall, if it was 9 foot, they would be allowed almost a 30-foot tall sign. So what's being requested is an additional 11 to make up for the 40 that they are requesting. So they would have been allowed 29, but they want 40.
I feel like we need to be careful getting away from what's in the ordinance.
Yeah, I think I was one voted against the last one for this very reason, is that you do one and then and so all of a sudden the goal of having scenic cities is not a goal. It was a dream that did not come true. So I think I'm kind of the same way. I think
29 makes sense to me. It's what the ordinance allows for the drop in elevation. That's what I would support, is 29.
Do we need to revisit our ordinance because with the I-35 widening and I-14 widening and all, I think there's going to be more and more call to be very clear in what we can and can't allow. And so I agree, we need to stay with what we've got, but is it time to cogently and carefully consider what we've got clear-mindedly without looking at just one episode? What's in light of the bigger picture of what do we need it to say? And how much flexibility should there be in there, given that what we know is coming down the pipe?
Correct.
Pun intended.
Yeah, I think that we've got several competing goals or several competing things going on. One of them is our Imagine Belton. The other one is kind of the historic beautification and kind of stuff with the Main Street, and that. I mean, when we did that, it limited the number of billboards that came through Belton. Also eliminated having any digital billboards. And so I think what's happened is we've added council, we've added planning and zoning commission members, and they're not all familiar with what I think we've got competing goals. And not every street is created equal. I think we've had that discussion, like, Main Street in downtown Belton versus 14 as you get closer to Nolanville Hill. I think that it may behoove us to consider a better sign / advertising something ordinance in light of those other things, now that we're doing them. I, because we get exceptions every week, then you don't have an ordinance. So it might be worth it. I don't know. I've not gone through and poured through all the documents.
You know, it seems like our allowable signage on the front of a building has been a little off since we had the Napa building come in. And they had been, were used to working with as a national builder, building those buildings, and putting signage up, and they get to Belton and, oh no, we have greatly reduced sign ordinance. And so I think it needs to be cleaned up. I would be for larger signage on the building that was on the a billboard type of posting. I think you made the comment going into Round Rock, you don't see 80-foot tall signs as you go over the hill and come in there. They're just not allowed.
Yeah. But you drive through Mesquite and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
I think either stick with the ordinance now and let them proceed and have a quick process of diligence in modifying our ordinance or reviewing it and cleaning it up. I think it needs to be done.
Tina, can you review again the exception that they're on the height? Can you review that again for me?
It's based on the grade difference between
Right.
the main roads of travel. So with the site, there's elevation changes. It is a little lower than 35. So looking at it eyeball, I thought it was between 6 to 10 feet based on that we have, and the grade elevation on 35. 35, I believe, was like 590, and this area was close to 581. So that's where I was getting the 9-foot difference in elevation. So that's why I thought, well, 29 would definitely be permitted, allowed by right, by the way our codes are written with that in there. But again, that's 11 foot less than what the applicant is requesting.
the digital portion of that was just the gas prices, or is it also there's another sign went in there that's also
There is
digital,
also another sign that's
Below it.
that says
which is
below it,
also not
It's hard.
an ordinance, right? We
without an SUP, correct?
got you. Yeah. And also, and I understand the advertising, and there's a lot of, you know, several signs like this are now in Gerald. And it's advertising 14 things instead of, you know, like QT in Salado. Now it's been destroyed with the winds and stuff, but it's basically QT and then the prices. You go to Buc-ee's, it's a big Buc-ee's head, right? So those are a little more simple. You get into some complexity. And this is a primary corridor into the city of Belton. So I think it. Sorry.
You said the applicant's here.
Correct.
Is there a reasoning? I mean, can we hear
Naeem?
from the
Would you like
applicant
to-
about?
Good evening. My name is Naeem Sanya. I reside at 595 Old Mill Road in Cedar Park. Reason being, well, the exit where it's positioned now, the location of that exit compared to where the site is, it'd be real difficult to see something that's 20 foot or even 30. It's what you saw in the image prior. Could you back to the rendering? That's actually 60-foot sign. So what's dimensioned next to it is the 40 feet height for the poles there.
Mm.
The sign would be about that height. We were thinking about 60, but we thought 40 would probably be sufficient for the location. Site's got decent visibility, but still from the ramp and far back on 35 makes it really hard to see a business like this. And we thrive on capturing all the traffic that's exiting. So it is crucial to the business to get a sign that's large enough to attract traffic to it.
I was a part of, as many of y'all were on the original sign deal where we put the change in elevation to affect the height. One thing you might want to do if you want to do this on this one or any of the other ones, you know, if they can get some engineer or someone to certify that instead of 29 feet, it should be 33 feet, according to our ordinance, that might be something you look at. On the other hand, it may come back, say, 26 feet, because Tina's just doing what she can do with the information she has. And she hadn't been out there, surveyed it and done elevations and things, but, I'm a real proponent of the basing the heights on some standard, and the elevation is probably the best way to go. But, maybe 29 feet is not as high as it could be under our ordinance. I don't know.
The other component, if I can add to this, was the storefront signage. We felt like, based on how big the sign was and compared to the size of the building, if you reduce that just to fit tenant sizes, it looks really weird with the elevation of the building, as tall it is. So 204 linear feet didn't exactly, right there. Didn't really do the trick to add 2 tenant signs to each side. So that's where you see an additional 40 foot on the right side, and then an additional 40 foot on the left side, one front that's inside of the travel center itself.
From a staff standpoint, we've certainly struggled with wall signage. I think our ordinance may be a little too restrictive.
I agree.
And so we really need to look at that. Wall sign, it's back, it's just identifying what's inside the building. I think there certainly could be some relaxation there. You're seeing multiple numbers of these kind of requests for the really tall signs, and there's not a good barometer of what that should be. We are getting farther and farther away from what our ordinance says, and we probably do need some evaluation of our code. I think John makes a good point about this one. If we don't have a good engineered drawing about what the height means, which we've had in the past, that could help in this case. But I do agree. I think it's time for us to look at these tall signs, advertising signs, and the wall signage on the properties.
And to the example of like Napa is part of the signage is really just the architecture of the building, the colors and the awnings and what just said, and it looks consistent. Whatever a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's, they look like they and these travel centers they look. And so I think as long as they're consistent, I think the numbers don't mean as much. I think the main thing that we want to prevent is we don't want to be cluttered where everybody's competing and it's just an arms race and we have 500 signs and each one's going to be taller.
Yeah, that's right. And so I think the concept of using the engineers to say, okay, what gives them the intervisibility they need at a reasonably safe distance to make a decision to stop or not to stop. And that should drive or not an arbitrary 29 feet plus whatever the height of the first hill is.
Would you be willing to have an engineer drawing prepared to submit to us for some evaluation as the council is requesting, with the potential of postponing the decision today and getting that information to us that could come back for council consideration?
Yeah, definitely. We did base it off of, some studies that we did based on the elevation of where our site is. I don't have the exact number with me yet. We have a sister store exactly like this in Pleasanton, Texas. The sign there is 80 feet tall. We didn't think 80 feet was required site. It's plenty visible, but we just needed a little bit more. So we had a higher face on our, or taller face on our signage. At least a truck driver could see it from some distance.
Yeah.
Versus the 20-foot monuments that are allowed per code.
That'd be an industry.
It'd be really see it and take it right away. That's kind of where it's coming from.
I get it. I would hate for us to say no if applicant is willing to allow us time to go. I think that's the best move. I hate to vote no and then it not be able to everything.
I agree.
2 miles before this, I think probably 8-9 months ago, somebody wanted a 90-foot.
Yes.
Yeah, something outrageous, and we're like, no, and so I can obviously appreciate the 40 over the 90, but I think, like everybody said, there's still some button up work. So make a motion to postpone to a future date or indefinitely, whatever term Casey would, if applicant is agreeable.
There's an extra week, so.
Well, if there's an engineer's analysis involved, it
May take a little.
May take a little bit longer.
Could be unscheduled. We've already satisfied for P and Z, so it would just come back when we're ready.
Okay.
So it could either be the 12th or the 26th if we're ready. We only have one meeting in December. So let's try to get together on the data, make sure we can satisfy the council's interest in quantifying the needed elevation for the sign. And then separately, we'll seek council's direction to proceed to analyze the ordinance itself on these types of signs and on wall signage.
all sides, please.
Yeah, if the top is what we call for. Feels
Yeah.
weird.
No, that's sorry, that's the back of the store.
Oh,
Rear
I thought
entrance.
that was comparison.
Oh, no.
A good example of
Here's the
that
front of
is
the
like
store.
Mosaic Grill that's in a strip center and they have some of their feet
Mhm.
and they're saying can only be because our forming too long.
Right.
So please, yeah.
It's just fun to look at.
All right.
Did I hear a motion?
Well,
Do you
they're
want-
trying to get me to name a date.
Do you want to postpone?
I'm sure he doesn't want to, but if.
29 feet today, work your way. Hey,
It kind of feels like you're not getting 40 today.
Yeah, then I'll postpone.
The 26th.
We're glad you're here and we appreciate you working with us.
So, 26th.
26th of November.
All right, I'll amend my motion to say postpone this to the November 26th meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second, to postpone this to our second November meeting, whichever that date is, 26th.
Thank you.
I'll say aye. Those opposed?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I want to add one thing. I know that we'll be diligent through this process. I want to make sure that we don't figure out a way to make it work for this property. And then that's the ordinance that we're stuck with moving forward for everybody. I want it to be something that maintains the scenic city ambiance. And if we can get something higher than 29 feet for them that makes sense, then that's wonderful. But I want us to be careful as we proceed through that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it may be a combination of height and distance from the highway because, it's a fairly wide part of I-35 and space to the access road and then space from the access road to where they're putting this versus something that's right on the highway. So I don't know, there may be some kind of standard that goes into account. All right, that one's already passed, or postponed. Item 15 is hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from single family 1 to neighborhood service on approximately 1 acre located at 206 Lake Road. Ms. Tina.
I'm going to recuse myself.
All right. Bye, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. For this one, the owner is, the property is currently on the market and a lot of the interested parties have expressed an interest in using this as a professional office. So the owner is requesting a zoning change to allow for that type of use and it seems compatible with all the surroundings on Lake Road. As a matter of fact, here is a map. So as you can see, this is one of 2 that are still zoned single family residential on the north side of Lake Road. There are some still on the south side. This is right next to the Baylor Scott and White Pharmacy and Clinic. The surrounding zoning, of course, is planned development office and neighborhood service. To the east of the building is single family 1 and to the north is multifamily. That's where the new seniors for retirement living is going at. So here's a look at the surrounding areas. This is a detached single family home. There's a garage at the back of the property. Future land use map shows this as multifamily and it's adjacent to that lifestyle area. But again, this is among that area on Lake Road that has been transitioning from residential use to offices or limited retail uses. The neighborhood services zone is again allows for businesses, banks, barbershop, beauty shop, churches, pharmacies, professional offices, and personal service shops in that area. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting and they recommended approval of this on the 15th. For that, development must conform to the neighborhood standards. A final subdivision plat is required if there are future constructions on that property. A civil plan and building review aligns with our standards are required when someone does purchase a space and is ready to move in. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. And I don't see an applicant here.
All right. This being a public hearing, we will close our deliberations, open the floor for any comments on this zoning change. There being no comments on this zoning, we will close the public hearing and reconvene to consider this zoning change.
This is obviously a neighborhood in transition and this seems very appropriate. I think we should approve it as presented.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the zoning change on the Lake Road property from single family to neighborhood services. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes 6-0 with one abstention. Right, Mr. Covington had that. Item 16, consider a plat for Fairway Drive commercial plat comprised of 2.94 acres located on 11 Fairway Drive, the corner of East Avenue M and Fairway Drive. Christina.
Okay, thank you. This final plat proposes a one block, one lot for the development of a 32-unit duplex complex. This property is currently zoned multifamily, which allows for that development. It's in the Belton CCN. I will show the site plan, but 2 access points are proposed, one off of East Avenue M and the second one off of Fairway Drive. No street improvements are required. No perimeter street improvements are required. There is a 5-foot sidewalk that's proposed along Avenue M and Fairway Drive. The location of the site is on the east side of 35. It is north of Holland Road. Here's Holland Road. If you take Ray Street up, you'll intersect that property. Here is what's being proposed, approximately 3 acres for one lot, one block for that residential addition. Here is the site plan. There are 32 units. They are all numbered off of this area. The green lines are wastewater lines and the blue is for the water lines. There are adequate water lines. The applicant just plans on connecting to the existing lines there. For the wastewater, however, they have to connect to Carla K. So they're asking for permission to place that in our Carla K playground area to be able to access their property from where they need to connect. With that, we decided to combine the permission to use that playground area and also a parkland dedication fee to recommend a playground equipment be installed in that area for the neighborhood. The applicant has agreed to place this particular playground equipment at the park to make up for that use of that parkland and for the parkland dedication fee. With that, Planning and Zoning Commission heard this at their meeting on the 15th and recommended approval of the subdivision plat.
All right, this is a final plat, so no public hearing. Any comments or questions on this item?
I'm excited that a structure is going in.
Yeah.
I think this is like my first one. I don't know. In a while.
Yeah. It's some infill.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion to approve item 16 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the final plat as presented. The one question I have is they'll be
sorry.
cutting into the public right of way for that. Noticed several projects lately that people are cutting into the right of way and they're not in sufficiently. And so we're having these piecemeal roads that were in pretty good shape until the public right of way was cut for these. Do we have a standard that they have to meet a certain thing, or okay to like off-road down paved roads going through these big dips of people who've cut the road?
We do have standards, design standards that our building inspectors or our construction inspectors do adhere to.
So can we take pictures and send them so they can go fix those?
Please do. If you're finding some that are that way, they
Shine is one of them.
shouldn't be. Yeah.
Yeah, Shine back there where they've got there's a couple of things that have been done. Pretty significant depression where they've cut. Anyway, just because this is again going to be in that area. There's a lot of topography and all that kind of stuff. I'd hate to see us tear up, roads. And anyway, that's my only comment. It's nothing about this particular one. Just all right. Any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Item 17, consider final plat for Bluebonnet Crossing comprising 2.858 acres located at 35 South Loop 121. Ms. Tina.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another deja vu. This is the request that we had last time for a zoning change for reduction in side yard setback. For this is a final plat proposing a one block, 2 lots for commercial development. Zoning is planned development retail for that reduction. Water is in the dual Dog Ridge and Belton, but we provide services over there. There is an extension required for a 2 and 3 requirement to be met. For sewer, there is also an extension that's required for our 2 and 3 requirement. TxDOT is improving the roadways around there. So Loop 121 and FM 93 has an anticipated plan for the widening of that road. With that, the TxDOT office reviewed 2 points of access for this area, one on the western end of the property and one on the southern end on Loop 121. I'll show you the plan really soon. For road, there are no perimeter street improvements required for sidewalk. The applicant is requesting a variance for the sidewalk along FM 93 based on the anticipated TxDOT project. Here is the location building. This is on the northwest corner of Loop 121 and FM 93. Here is the proposed site. The hashed area is a public access easement to allow for parking and traffic through that area. Staff is working with them to get the easement for the adjacent properties to also connect. So that's one of the comments that's in the subdivision plat review. Here is the improvement plans. Again, the green line is the wastewater line, the blue is line, and the red is underground storage, stormwater. So for water, there is an existing water line currently there. However, there is a requirement to extend 2 and 3 property. However, the anticipated TxDOT improvement, if that's constructed now, might need to be moved with the widening of the right of way once that's determined. We're looking at possibly a development agreement with the applicant to figure out how to get that done, maybe an escrow account or maybe just participation because the city will need to upsize that water line. For the sewer, the applicant is planning on extending the existing sewer, which ends on lot 1 to, oops. Okay, sorry about that. Thought it was on the, there we go. The applicant plans on extending that sewer to and through the property to the adjacent property. So that will be met. With that, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting on the 15th and they recommended approval, subject to the staff comment letter and also approval for the waiver sidewalk requirement on FM 93. Sorry, I didn't want to say variance, it's a waiver.
Right. Thank you. All right, any comments? Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as is.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the final plat of Blue Bonnet Crossing as presented. Any other comments or questions? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Item 18, consider a final plat for River Fair Crossing Phase 2 comprising 2.026 acres located at 2910 and 3002 North Main Street.
Another deja project that just went through zoning last time. So this is proposing a 1 block, 2 lots also for commercial restaurant development. Water is in a water Belton CCN. There is an extension requirement and there's also an extension requirement for the sewer as well. Access will be provided from the existing there. There's one off of North Main Street and there's a shared access. The Wendy's and Starbucks area to serve this as well. Sidewalk, there is an existing sidewalk on North Main, so that will not be required. Here's the location of the site. It is on the west side of Main Street. Why does it keep switching? And it is north of River Fair Boulevard. Here's a look at the proposed lots. There's lot 1, lot 2 of this addition. Again, there's a lot of shared access that's being proposed on this. So this is a continuation from Wendy's, and this is also another continuation from Wendy's. This proposed access will, the one on the north side of lot 1 will also be extended, but that is why there's an access there. That, for some reason, I think something is selected, but it might not be. For utilities, sewer is expected to extend from close to where River Farm is to get to the site. And there will be 2 connections to each of the lots. And also for water, they will send the current water service from where Wendy's ends to serve these 2 lots. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this at their meeting. They're recommending approval subject to comment letter on the 8th. I'll be happy to answer questions you have.
Right. Any questions?
Just to refresh, you can get to all 4 lots from the back easement?
Correct.
Got it. For some reason, you would have to like jig jag, but I just think it's the way the one is shaded and the other's not. I move we approve agenda number 18 is presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the final plat for Air Crossing Phase 2. Comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 19. Interest funds as recommended by the council appointed subcommittee.
You've been waiting for this one the whole night.
Bring it.
All right.
Phone to a future meeting. Oh,
I had this great video and it's not working. So talking to Chris about that tomorrow. Mayor, council, appreciate, want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to run through, at the end of August, Finance Director Mike came up to you, talked to you about, ARPA funds. At that point, we allocated the final $1,000 towards United Way for utility assistance. During that time that we'd held those funds, we got a little interest. And so it was a chance for us to think about doing some cool stuff within the community with those funds, about $400,000. And at that time, David, Mayor mentioned that we should form a subcommittee. Mayor Pro Tem Holmes, Councilmember Covington, and Councilmember were on that committee. But let's not first forget what we did with the ARPA funds, right? That was about $5.2 million that the city got from the American Rescue Act. For those in the audience, almost just over $2 million we put direct back into the community. Y'all directly back into the hands of the community, not necessarily for city staff or that kind of stuff, just directly back into the hands of those who really need it, who make up this community. Senior centers, small business grants, Mount Zion Church, and again, a fantastic United Way and them helping us with those who needed utility assistance. And you may remember the mass write-off of delinquent bills that we had, that kind of stuff, really trying to help people get back up on their feet. So just want to share that again for the audience, because for that. Next up, projects that we want to fund with the $400,000. And again, this committee kind of rope you in at the end and let you all kind of share a few words, but I'm going to run through the projects that were selected for this. The first one is a really exciting one. It's the Nolan Creek Temporary Bridge. This was inspired from Randy and his team. I would call it activating Liberty Park for the July 4th festival with that awesome Fort Cavazos bridge, the unit thing. And so I think the video that Mayor took of that has 10 million views or so, Paul. I mean, it's incredible. But again, people loved it. And so now how do we replicate that?
tanks.
Yeah, right. We can't for 30,000.
Slow down.
But what we'll have, it will look this is just totally just off the website, but it'll look something like this. It will be a temporary bridge that we can pull in and out, rain coming. James and his crew will run out there. They'll slide it up into the, just out of the floodway. Rain passes, subsides, we'll just put it back. That's the process. As simple as that. And $30,000 is relatively low cost, but a huge kicker here. Belton Area Chamber of Commerce, Randy, really, his board, fully on board with this idea. Really feel like it hits a lot of the elements that the chamber wants to do with quality of life, business enhancement, think about the parking it opens up, all that kind of stuff. So that was a very popular project and for a relatively small amount of money. And you saw there, just real quick, 30-foot in length, 6-foot wide. Just as you guys get with that. Next one was a multi-purpose field from at Heritage Park. You can kind of see right here is the location that we were for a future to do this. We had to take it out of the original bid that we did. And so this is going back, adding much needed space to what we already have a shortage of practice space. You've probably all heard that a number of times. Now we've got the parking addressed, and we'll have the parking addressed along Park Avenue. But we have the parking addressed, and so I want to just keep bringing people and utilizing this space. Another small component of that, in the budget already, we have lights for this field, for the field on the left. That was the original field that was built as part of the park. And got to give kudos to Mayor Pro Tem Holmes here, because he can, he's like, Matt, you telling me we can't throw some lights on the back and light that other field up? And you dang right we can. So we can, for $15,000, we put it up there. So John, we appreciate you for that. very minimal cost. James already had a lot of that in the budget, ready to go.
Good idea.
Next is the senior center. So this was awesome picture. This is our youth advisory commission do the quiz with the seniors center. It's just awesome programming, and you all know how great they are. We met with Jay with the Belton Senior Center and just kind of walked through all the stuff that David Jones as well. And so they explained to us a need they had, and it was for some revitalization and some remodeling some existing space. It's this back area of the building. Can you kind of see to the right where I've highlighted the plans that Jack Sims threw up? And then I've kind of crudely drawn roughly where that area is. It's $100,000. They're serving over 300 members of the fantastic bang for the buck, I think. Next one was another generated from the committee. This was, we've had so much activity at the pickleball courts here there at Chisholm Trail Park. We already have 4 courts. This would add another, the proposal was to add another 2 courts with lighting, with fencing. That would bring us to 6 courts. A neighboring community just did 6 courts for about 1.5 million. We will be all in for $80. And so just that's James and his crews really being prudent with that. But awesome job that they did there. And you can kind of see where that's going right there. Just going to carry on that extension. All 6 will be lit. Yes, sir.
I will say that the public has taken notice of the frugality of Belton and the in Temple with some of the letters to the editor about what we've been able to do.
Absolutely.
So kudos.
Talk about that storm response. Okay, so we got Heritage Park D light conversion. So this was on one of the, we talked some of the budget, some of the items were coming through was, can we get some projects that have an ROI on it? And so this is a project, $50,000, replace 70 light bulbs. There are 1,500 watt bulbs down to 500 watt bulbs, LEDs. And so saving 2/3 of the energy, we should see a big reduction in a pretty large electrical bill we pay each year on that. And $50,000. And then finally, children.
Personally guaranteed no more crickets once we do that conversion, right?
I think that's what James told me. Children's Advocacy Center. You may remember that the executive director, Deborah Longley, had come and spoke to y'all about trying to be included in some funding. What she asked for, we've $6,153, bit of an odd number, but that was her 25 cents per resident calculation to kind of get that number. So that's being proposed in this. So funding breakdown, you guys can see we're at 91, 653, always here in Belton, and we can kind of go with that. Also allows a little cushion in case something here or there kind of. No, it won't, John. It won't go over. And so we'll have that. But the council committee. So at this point, I really want to kick it back to John, Wayne, and Dave. Any comments that you all want to share with the council?
I tell you what, earning interest is fun and beneficial, but boy, allocating interest to amazing projects that will benefit our community. It was absolutely fun to do. We brainstormed and thought about and ranked and came up with ideas. And I'm so excited about what's on the list or what made the list or what we propose. That I just think everything is so efficient. Very well considered, and I think just a huge benefit across our community. $391,000 is going really far.
Yep.
And thanks to the chamber as well for partnering on that bridge here. But fun time, fun group and fun meetings, and just really enjoying it.
The only note I would add is that we're able to kind of get touch points to multiple demographics of our population, young, old, in between. So I think it's a good way to spread that money around to a lot of different folks that'll get to use.
Well, I agree with what John and Dave said. I think it was a great committee. I hope that we earn some more interest before we spend all of that, and then we can perhaps direct that to some other areas of need, because I know we have more lacking. Shout out to Randy and the chamber for kicking in that money too.
Yeah.
That's been a long time dream of mine to have a permanent bridge. This is a good first step. And so just give us more impetus to figure out a way at some point in time to have a permanent pedestrian cross there, because I think that'll add a great deal to downtown when we're able to do that. So this is a great first step. Thank you.
As who should walk more. But I hate walking up the hill for lunch at work. Just go across the Penelope Bridge. It's a lot easier to get.
There we go. Yeah.
To a couple of restaurants at work. But the second thing, for those of us that have graduated from Parks Board and the amount of years that we've been talking about lights at Heritage and the soccer fields and LEDs, and to see it now, all that plus lighted pickleball courts. So.
Couple of quick comments. Very exciting to see the projects that were selected. Just a comment on the reason we have the ARPA funds that sat in the bank, because we have them committed for future projects, and why the original intent of ARPA was to help our community in times of hardships, which we are still very much in. So that's the reason we have this interest to do these things with. So I just want us to remember that. And that this is a way that we can utilize to help our community with that we wouldn't have for maybe otherwise, but to always remember the original intent why we even have this interest. My only is the Children's Advocacy Center one is the only one on there that I fully support and believe in, but I want to ensure that we look at future funding. The others are one-time kind of expenses, where we won't have to invest in maybe in those again. Children's advocacy, hope that we can continue to look at that every year in a fund that might be more sustainable.
Here.
Chair would entertain a motion to allocate these funds as presented.
I'll make a motion to move that we accept the funds as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to allocate the ARPA interest funds as recommended in this presentation. I'll also, again, thank you, Randy, and your board for supporting this. It's really nice. It's a good partnership. Sometimes we contribute your way, sometimes you contribute our way, but we all benefit from it. Absolutely. There we go. I see.
Is that next year's theme?
Yeah. And
Right. Right.
yeah. Yeah, well, and
I did kick in.
Yeah, number 82.
It's
great. Yeah.
So it's been here 3 times. It doesn't work yet. I've got to throw it away. So she put it back.
I will say, we have a motion in a second. I will also say that the number of people that just looking at that number of people, kind of what Stephanie's talking, the impact in the community, it's going to be felt. So many projects are just people know that they happen. This one, people will notice the difference, and there were so many people, not even residents of Belton, that will benefit from a lot of these. So again, thank you guys for this. So that being said, any other comments before we vote on it? All right, all in favor for allocating these funds as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
And here's to the Carpenter Homes, Covington pickleball facility. Fully live. Fully live.
Right. I will go ahead and we're closing the council meeting. We're gonna reconvene. We're gonna go into executive session.
On the edit, man.
There you go. Here. Order. We're not done. We're not done. We're not done. Oh, dude. I'm gonna punch you in the grill. Yeah, for the record. Yes. So we're going to close and we're going to reconvene next door for executive session pursuant to the provisions of the Open Meeting Law, Chapter 551, Government Code, Vernon's Texas Code, annotated in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551.074, personnel matters for city clerks and city managers' performance evaluation. Now, we're done.